10 Deadly Home Buying Pitfalls. Buying a house is a major deal. There are many home buying entanglements a buyer can make. This article will talk about a portion of the greater traps that can make home buy not as much as great. These fatal entanglements can cost buyer huge amounts of cash, cause bunches of exacerbation, or both. Lamentably, commonly a home buyer will surge forward in the energy and feeling of buying a home, just to get greatly baffled with the home buying procedure or discover they committed an error later on. Discover toward the finish of the article how to stay away from these 10 deadly home buying pitfalls. Top 10 Deadly Home Buying Pitfalls. 1. Not understanding agency. Real estate agency is a misconstrued theme by numerous and can make numerous issues if not completely caught on. Fundamentally, the agency is the means by which a real estate agent works for the buyer and will associate with him in a real estate exchange. It is a lawful relationship buyer has with his agent. One slip-up numerous buyers make is buying a home at an open house straightforwardly from the listing agent. The listing agent or seller's agent owe the seller trustee duty. Their employment is to secure the most noteworthy and most ideal offer on the property. Their obligation is to the seller, not him the home buyer. They are to lawfully give each favorable position to the seller even to his detriment. A buyer's agent then again owes the home buyer trustee duty. Each home buyer have the privilege to utilize a buyer's agent. 2. Not getting pre-qualified before looking at homes. Taking a gander at homes is enjoyable. Discussing cash or scarcity in that department is definitely not. Getting a legitimate pre-endorsement letter will take off huge amounts of exacerbation and despair from the earliest starting point. A legitimate pre-endorsement will guarantee buyer are taking a gander at the correct homes, let buyer look with certainty, and can even be utilized as an arranging instrument. Buyer will likewise be having a discourse about projects and loan fees with his home loan officer before finding a home. There will be no curveballs when the buyer presents his home loan application on a particular home. 3. Not seeking the proper professional help. Try not to figure buyer can get the hang of that. Entire buyer have to think about buying a home on the web. Real estate is dynamic and markets change rapidly. An article composed a year prior can be obsolete. There are buyer's agents that can enable the buyer to buy. In addition to buyer have contract financiers, home assessors, real estate lawyers, appraisers, home change temporary workers, and that are only the tip of the iceberg. Each can assume an essential part in a home buyer. Sparing $500 by not having a real estate lawyer audit his buy contracts or holding back a $100 to get a less expensive home assessment is impractical. Everybody of these experts is inundated in the matter of real estate 8+ hours per day. Consistently, every end and each customer convey them all the more real estate involvement to help serve their next customer. 4. Thinking short-term and ignoring intermediate and long-term housing needs. Thinking about buyer quick lodging objectives without pondering his long-haul objectives can prompt fiasco. Attempt to buy a home that will suit his requirements for the following 7 to 10 years at any rate. 5 years can be quite a while. Occupations change and conjugal status or family size can change. There is a cost to selling his home, and if the market is not acknowledging rapidly, buyer won't get the greater part of his cash out in a brief time frame on the off chance that he winds up selling. Obviously nobody can think about each conceivable situation, however, work through the conspicuous ones. 5. Not having a home inspection or hiring the wrong home inspector. Unless buyer realizes what he is doing, don't do it. Try not to avoid the home investigation to spare cash or on the grounds that the listing agent let him know he would get the house in the event that he would. A house is loaded with costly frameworks, and settling one or a few can be costly. In addition to the fact that it is vital to have an assessment and list a decent home examiner. This is not an opportunity to spare cash. Referrals and buyer's agent can be a decent asset to locate an incredible home overseer. 6. Not fully understanding the costs involved. There are shutting costs, prepaid, escrow, home review charges, moving expenses, and progressively when the buyer is acquiring a home. Ensure he completely comprehend the costs included when obtaining a home. Ordinarily, home buyers ignore the costs that are well beyond their initial installment. A home loan officer will cover all buyers' upfront installment and shutting costs that will be required, and a buyer's agent will talk about different expenses with buyer also. In the event that this is buyer first home, bear in mind the portion of the nuts and bolts he may require promptly, similar to a snowblower or a lawnmower. Or, then again, perhaps his home was not completely applianced and he requires a fridge, washer, or potentially dryer. 7. Not understanding current market conditions. Real estate markets rise and fall consistently. The present condition of a real estate showcase manages numerous things when the buyer is buying a home. For instance, in the event that a person is in a buyer's market, he will arrange uniquely in contrast to when he is in a seller's market. In a seller's market, a seller might be propelled yet not frantic, while in a buyer's market they might be edgy. Most home buyers' comprehension of the present economic situations can be 6 to a year behind what is truly happening. Most market pointers are verifiable markers, making them a slacking marker. In the event that a market was level and down the previous fall and winter, it doesn't imply that market can't turn on a dime and be super hot in the spring. Just a real estate agent approaches the most exceptional real estate advertiser information and the abilities to translate them. 8. Relying on oral agreements or statements. On the off chance that buyer is buying a locally situated upon what an agent or a seller is letting him know, make a point to get it in composing. Oral assertions or portrayals are legitimate, however not enforceable. Be that as it may, the seller agent said, is most likely not going to cut it in court. Any portrayals that have been made to him and is not on any showcasing materials or composed contracts should be explicitly stated. For instance, a major one is proprietors will have an in-law or extra flats, and on the off chance that buyer inquiries as to whether they are lawful, the proprietor will state yes. Frequently they are most certainly not. Have them expressly stated that they warrant the unit is legitimate and an allow can be acquired. 9. Not understanding fair market value. There is a procedure for deciding equitable estimation of a home. It contrasts homes in comparative particulars in a comparable area to the subject property. What buyer can manage the cost of or what his father thinks has nothing to do with what most different buyers in the commercial center will spend on that home. Just a comparative market analysis or an appraisal can show what a house is worth. A home can be overrated, valued comfortable, or even be underestimated. In actuality, many homes will be valued comfortable or somewhat under to produce numerous offers. It is a technique home seller and real estate agents utilize. Another home buyer will come in and scoop it from underneath him on the off chance that he is attempting to stop messing around and get the home for not as much as the market. Having the capacity to have a thought of what a house is worth will give him a comprehension of its incentive as it sits today and will enable the buyer to structure an offer that will get the buyer the home he needs. 10. Not understanding how to negotiate. It is less demanding for a buyer to consult in a buyer's market. A buyer's market will enable a buyer to escape with a considerable measure. Slump to a seller's market and the buyer will be putting in offer after offer, just to be rejected on the off chance that buyer doesn't change his arranging procedure. Often a home buyer needs to arrange his direction and is stunned when a seller doesn't take part in transactions with them and the sellers pitch to another buyer that won't have been hostile or were out and out less demanding to manage. There are such a significant number of factors in organizing and arranging technique, and nobody way will work unfailingly. Real estate agents spend some portion of consistently arranging costs, home assessments, and other detail associated with the real estate exchange. We can be to a great degree an important asset. For free samples of probates, inherited, foreclosures, absentees, landlord, vacant, code violations, evictions list, visit www.realsupermarket.com.